When I think of a medieval castle, I picture a huge stone fortress standing on a cliff above the sea, with waves crashing on the rocks below and a clear view of anyone approaching from any side. There is a real place just like this on the northeastern coast of Northern Ireland. It sits on a massive rocky cliff. It has breathtaking views and an interesting history to go with it. But why was this incredible castle abandoned? What happened to the family who once lived there? What battles took place here? Join me and I'll tell you the fascinating story of Dunluce Castle. Oh, and I have a surprise for you, so stick around to the end. The first castle built at Dunluce was built over 700 years ago. We know it was built in the early 1300s by a man named Richard Og de Burgh, but much of it is a mystery. There are no pictures or records of what the first castle looked like. For over 200 years, the castle stood on the edge of the high cliff above the sea. The ruins we see today are from a later castle. The story of this great castle is full of battles, takeovers, and, well, ghosts. This castle was built in 1513 by the McQuillan family, who made it bigger and stronger over time. The McQuillans were once friends with another powerful family, the McDonnells. However, a disagreement led to a fight for control of the land and, of course, of the castle. Two battles broke out near Ballycastle. The fighting lasted for days, and at first, no one won. But then, Sorley Boy McDonnell used a clever trick. He covered a bog with grass and placed his men on solid ground. When the McQuillans charged towards them, they sank into the bog, and they were defeated. Genius! This battle became known as the Battle of Slieve na Ora. After that, the McDonnells took control of Dunluce Castle. The English attacked Dunluce Castle many times, and even took it for a while. However, the McDonnells did not give up. One stormy and foggy night, they climbed into the towers, captured the English captain, and hanged him. They took the castle back. Legend says that the captain's ghost still haunts the tower today. In 1564, Sorley Boy McDonnell was captured by Shane O'Neill, who took over the castle. Sorley Boy later convinced his enemies to release him to help them fight against his own family, the McDonnells. By 1585, he managed to regain control of Dunluce Castle. There have been people living near Dunluce long before history was even written down. For a long time, people thought only the castle stood there. Recently, however, archaeologists have discovered the remains of Dunluce Village right near the castle. The village was built around 1608 by Randall MacDonald. It was very modern for its time. The streets were laid out in neat rows, and the houses even had indoor toilets. Sadly, the village was destroyed and abandoned during the Irish Uprising of 1641. Why was this castle abandoned? Well, that's the big question. The MacDonnell family lived in Dunluce Castle until about 1690. You gotta remember that there was a battle between the Catholics and the Protestants, and they supported the Catholic King James II during the war against the English Protestants. When the Catholics lost the Battle of Buidhe, the family lost everything. Their money, their lands. They could no longer afford to maintain or repair the castle, so it slowly fell into ruin. No one else ever moved in or rebuilt it. For over 300 years, the castle has been slowly falling apart. Luckily today, we can visit the ruins and imagine how it was hundreds of years ago. It is connected to the mainland by a narrow wooden bridge. As you would expect, there are many legends and stories involving Dunluce Castle. Many people died there during battles or from falling off the steep cliffs. Because of this, the castle is surrounded by dark and spooky legends. So let me tell you a few. In 1588, a Spanish ship called the Girona crashed on the rocks near the castle. Sir James McDonnell took 2 cannons from the ship and placed them on the turrets by the castle gates. The rest of the cargo was sold to help repair the castle. For me, one of the best stories is about Maeve Rua. Remember, the castle had originally been built by Richard de Burgh. Well, after it went to the McQuillan clan, Richard asked Lord McQuillan to marry his daughter, Maeve Rua. However, she didn't really like him. She was in love with another younger man called Reginald O'Cahan. Her father was angry that she didn't want to marry Richard and locked her up in the northern turret of the keep. She would spend her days and nights by the window waiting to be rescued by her lover. One night, under a very heavy storm, he was able to get past the guards, sailing in a little boat into the cave under the castle. He made his way to her prison and released her. They escaped, hidden by the storm, and headed to Port Rush. Unfortunately, they never made it. The small boat was battered and destroyed by the storm, crashing into the rocks. They held on to each other as the boat sank in the freezing sea. Only Reginald's body was ever recovered, and now locals say that her spirit haunts the ruins of the Northern Tower, also known as the McQuillan Tower, and on stormy nights you can hear her crying, waiting for her lover to return. If you're enjoying the video, please click on the thumbs up to tell me that you liked it. I have a lot of other amazing castles to show you, so check out my playlist and other videos on the channel. The more you watch, the more my videos are shown to other people. Also, leave a comment, even if just to say hello, and share the video to a friend. I really appreciate this. It really helps me out. Now, some more interesting facts about the castle. There were many myths and legends over the years about the abandoned castle. People claim to see ghosts, giants, and mythological creatures. And C.S. Lewis was inspired by the castle when he wrote his book on Narnia. The mysterious Cair Paravel Castle is based on Dunluce Castle. If you think this castle might be familiar in some way, it was the House of Greyjoy, Pike Castle, on the Iron Islands in the TV series Game of Thrones. Now, if you're a fan of Game of Thrones and you plan to visit Dunluce Castle, remember that it won't look exactly as it did in the series. They used a lot of CGI to make it more dramatic and, of course, to restore it as a castle. Below the castle is the sea cave I mentioned, and a path that leads to a small private beach. It is not always open, but when it is, I would definitely recommend going down. It's a great place to explore and enjoy the view. As promised, if you made it this far into the video, I have a surprise for you. I thought this was amazing. So, what would Dunluce Castle have looked like when it was new? Well, in 2020, artists from the NeoMam studios used digital technology to recreate the castle as it looked in the 1600s. Thanks to them, we can finally see Dunluce Castle as it once stood. You can see more rebuilt castles in the World History Encyclopedia. I'll put a link to it in the description below, as well as all my other sources so you can see more. If you'd like to see another amazing castle, well, Carrickfergus Castle is a great video for you to watch next. Check it out.